So I'll say it again for your listeners because it's such a powerful statistic. I always say it twice when I go on these things. The average 18-year-old will spend 25 years of their life scrolling on their phone. The phrase that comes with that as well is that these 18-year-olds will die with more of other people's memories in their head than their own.
Oh my
God.
God.
What's worse than that, though, is that if 71% of the images are AI generated, you're not even dying with more of other people's memories in your head. You're dying of made up, machine-made content in your head. You have more of that in your head than your own memories.
Cool. Hey, Ross, welcome to another episode of CrockPit. I have Ross Thorpe here with me, and we'll chat about something that's, so these days can be quite a bit of a, rare topic to hear, I think, but still definitely something that we can take advantage of spaces like this on internet to push this agenda towards more people, just to kind of be clear on what's the overall AI space built on right now, and what are the negative as well as the positive effects. So if you don't mind me asking you to just give us a brief problem that your platform is solving and kind of start from there. It's usually there is a problem that you saw and you said, I can fix this.
Yeah. Okay. So put simply, the problem is that more and more of social media is being filled up with AI generated content. So some of the big stats on this are that 71% of images being uploaded every day are AI generated images. Some of the platforms have up to 45% of the users as bots. Over 50% of text blocks that are over 100 words, AI generated. Internet activity as a whole now has reached 54.7% non-human activity. So what we're doing is that a lot of people are, the average social media user is using social media for 4 to 5 hours a day. So if you're going onto a platform and looking at something or interacting with users that is 71% of the time the new images are AI generated, or the users that you're interacting with are bots, there's really no difference between someone being sat for 4 to 5 hours a day talking to their cooker or their kettle or their washing machine. and if someone did that for 4 to 5 hours a day, you'd think they were quite mad. But this is something that all of us are now doing every day. Now, that's just a surface overview. There's more existential threats to it from that. The more existential problems, I think, are built into this. But at its core, that's what's happening, is that people are spending 4 to 5 hours a day interacting with things that are made by machines. It's the core problem. And so we created Ruverse as a social media platform where all AI generated content is blocked from being uploaded, and all bots are blocked from being on the platform. So people can go on there and just interact with other human beings and other human produced content. It's my summation of the problem and the solution that we've attempted to do.
Cool. I want to, I want to stick around stats. So I actually did a little bit of research. I found I found quite a few numbers. So depending on who does the research, there are definitely variations. But I found the one that you are citing, 71% of images, that was on Forbes, if I'm not mistaken. There is one issue that I personally have with that. Well, not an issue, but I think it's worth addressing before we continue. So the person who's contributor on that article is linking this percentage to ArtSmart article, and ArtSmart is a platform for generating AI images. So in a sense, they were bragging on one of their articles that like 71 or something like that percentage of images on social media is generated by either their stuff or similar products in general. And then so there is a loop. Forbes is linking to them, and they are essentially bragging and linking back to Forbes. So it's weird coincidence, but anyways, 71% is not far off. It's always around that number anyways. I just thought that this is important one to address because
Yeah, I
someone
think
someone might actually go and check the numbers, and we just want to be thorough.
sure. And if I recall correctly, that was reported by Forbes back in, was it November 24, the first time it's published?
24,
Yeah,
yes.
November 24. So
Yeah.
we're now in July 26, and
Yeah.
AI usage, and AI generated images hasn't gone down in that time. So I think we're fairly safe to say that that's a flaw,
Oh,
not
for
a
sure.
ceiling,
For sure,
on this.
definitely.
If anyone wants to quibble with numbers, I think we're probably pretty safe with saying that's a pretty good stat for it.
Yeah. So what they say about the bots in general, looking through different sources, depending again who, like for example, a company that was hired by Musk, I forgot the name, but I have info here. Before he acquired Twitter, the number was 11% of users on Twitter were bots. And then they later came out with updated number that stated 20% of users on Twitter were bots.
Yes.
So
So
it's even we started talking about AI generated images, which is a problem by itself, but not too big of a problem if we have to measure them. It feels like having 20% of users on a social media being bots, that's much more well, not complicated to solve, but probably more worthwhile looking into because it carries more ammo towards, political differences and all other differences that you want to target your weaponry in bots towards your whatever your gain and aim is, right?
yeah, absolutely. And I think that stat from X is quite old now as well. But Musk bought X some
Yeah, yeah,
time
yeah.
ago.
This is 11% was before he acquired it, and then later in those like months, I guess, after the acquisition, they came out with updated version of 20. So
Yeah.
now whether it's supposed to be like lower or whatever, that's for another research. I'm guessing I don't know where they're at right now.
I mean, and
Uh,
that was before we had AI agents able to spin up bots
yeah, yeah,
and all that kind of thing. So again, when we're talking about the technology is moving so fast, and when we're talking about statistics that in the X case there, I mean that was probably 3-4 years ago, wasn't it?
something
That
like
he
that.
bought.
Yeah,
Yeah,
2022.
yeah. So you're talking in that time, it hasn't gone down. Let's be honest, those numbers have not gone down as a proportion. I mean, in just the time we've been talking here, how many new bots or AI agents have been started up and pushed out into the internet? I mean, between us in this conversation so far, we've created no new human beings
Yeah,
to
yeah,
counteract that scale. So the proportion is only going to rise. I mean,
yeah.
and you can see that with the internet activity. So I think that after I think it was maybe March of this year, there was 52% of internet activity online was non-human, and then I think it was a couple of weeks ago, 54.7%. So in just a couple of months, it's moved up a
Yeah.
couple of percent there.
Yeah, I have to add one more info on that side. So a lot of those, so that's quantity. So it's not, we are not talking about the bandwidth itself, right? So right now, you and I, if this would go live, right? If this was a stream, only this video that we are doing right now would probably just overshadow every other bot right now active on internet in terms of bandwidth and the quality, or rather the amount of data that's sent out. But quantity wise, number of bots you're right. It's way over 50%. And I remember like 7 or 8 years ago, something like that, that number was 34, 35, something like that. Right now, with over half of the total actors out there, over half are bots and 30% are malicious. So now we are back to, where we were 7, 8 years ago with bots overall, but right now on the same number with malicious bots. So that's crazy.
And what I think should worry the listeners to this podcast the most, what should worry your listeners the most, is the fact that if they find these statistics shocking, that's the most worrying part. Because if they had an inkling that it was this bad, that's almost okay, because they know that it's bad. But if you have no idea that it's this bad, that means that you're ignorant of some of the stuff coming in, some of the stuff you're seeing, and some of the stuff you're interacting with. You can't tell. So if you're listening to this and you find those statistics shocking and surprising, that you should be more worried than if you were like, oh, okay, that sounds about right.
Okay. Yeah, I see your point.
Yeah.
Definitely. On the other hand, I guess we are doing all of this to educate as well, not just, so, yeah. Well, I mean, it is shocking, even if you're aware of the numbers, just like trying to comprehend the sheer magnitude of what's happening right now, even if you're trying to be educated and informed, it's
impossible.
It's crazy. It's yeah.
I mean, I was reading the UN's having its AI governance conference yesterday and today, and there's stuff firing out of there. There's news articles. It's more than a full-time job to keep up with even remotely a tiny fraction of the information that's coming out about this issue, let alone living your actual life and going around your day-to-day business.
Are you even capable of like tracking how many new LLMs are out there? It's only like that information. I actually started doing research yesterday. I didn't finish it, so I'll update you when I have the number. Because obviously my company and myself, we're deep into like using AI for different purposes. And the more I research, the more I talk with people who are already deep in this area. Almost every time that I speak with a new person, whether I want to have like get advice or just to research what they're doing and how they're doing, I almost every time hear different LLM being used for different stuff, and I'm like first time hearing it for a number of them. Like I would say that I discovered like 7 or 8, maybe 6 or 7 new ones that I didn't know existed like a month ago. I don't know if that's good or bad. Right now, for like good stuff for good purposes, you can definitely say it's good because now you have options. But then, those numbers talk only about positive impact that AI is capable of doing. Now, let's see what does it do for malicious and threat actors out there. We talked on prep, I think, about Fable and Mythos and their cybersecurity implications, right?
Yeah. So if you want to talk about that for a second,
sure.
So I mean, Mythos is not the one that's allowed for general consumption. Fable is the watered down guardrails kids version, and Fable was pulled by the American government, and they had to say that only US citizens, only US nationals could use it. Now, there's no way for Anthropic to control that. And my concern here is that they've subsequently my concern is that governments all over the world and huge organizations all over the world are implementing AI at breakneck speed.
Mm-hmm.
It's going into the NHS, it's going into the UK government, it's going into governments all over the world, big organizations, big companies, small companies, everyone. And you basically have two choices right now. You've either got America or China for these big LLM models. And there's little ones popping up and all this kind of stuff. You've basically got America or China. Now, Some companies are choosing China, some governments are choosing China, some are choosing America. But what America has proved by stopping dead access to one of these AI models is they have proved in reality, in the real world, that they can cut off access to this LLM at any point. Now, that to me is more powerful than a nuclear weapon because you can actually use it. So the nuclear weapons, the problem is that mutually assured destruction, mad principle. No one shoots nukes because everyone else will shoot nukes and everyone will die. And so we're solid here.
Yeah, math does not compute in that scenario.
Yeah. So but in this America situation, what America has done is said that they have now got leverage over both companies and governments by saying, I can at any point cut off your LLM access that is now entrenched into your organization, and it can be turned off instantly. Now, whether they'll do that or not remains to be seen. I hope that would be the case and that calmer heads can prevail. But it is something that needs to be thought about when companies and governments are implementing these models. They have to think that actually they can now be turned off. It's not a theory, it's been done. It was done over a weekend and it actually happened. Now they subsequently re-released Fable with adjustments made and things like this, but it does show that there is a legal structure inside the United States to allow that to happen. It wasn't released because they went, oh no, actually we can't legally not do this. It was because they met the demands and the threshold requirements of the US government. So it's an interesting dynamic that I think when people need to think about implementing these things, where it's a bit like the old TV show Battlestar Galactica. The reason the Battlestar Galactica survived is because it didn't have all the new technologies. When it got taken over by the Cylons, they could keep going without it. And my view on this is that absolutely the potential benefits of AI are colossal. And the analogy I've used, and I think I spoke about it in our prep call, was that AI is here to stay. It's absolutely not going anywhere. And in the same way that people used to live in the countryside, now they live in cities, everyone's going to be living in an AI world, this AI city, where it's interacting with them every day. And the whole reason we created Ruverse is just because you live in the city, it doesn't mean you don't like going for a walk in the countryside. And so Ruverse is the nature reserve where you can go out of the city of having AI everywhere all the time and go for a walk in the countryside in that nature reserve that's just human content. And that's kind of the concept we're coming from. Because we're not anti-AI zealots. Absolutely, AI needs to cure cancer. It needs to fix the environment. All these fantastic things it can do. But there is a balance, and there needs to be some thought, I think, when implementing these systems as to the possible scenarios that can go outstretched into the future. Kind of stuff.
Well said. Well said. And I know as you're talking about this, I see like a direct parallel with probably every technology aspect since late 80s up to today. We were when I say we, like majority of the world was relying on Silicon Valley to come up with new fun stuff, fun technology to be used in general population. And then we never really thought about it, but like, for example, like GPS, like your location, you're sharing essentially with American government every day. They're, bearing the cost of maintenance and entire GPS structure that you're using every time you go with like Google Maps, whatever you travel and use that. So you're sending out your location. And we don't really think about it because it was never forbidden fruit in a way until, this happened. And now you say, oh, okay, so check this out. They can cut off the access to LLM based upon which my business is built. And it's same with cloud, with internet, not necessarily internet, but with all the centralized aspects and parts of the internet, including cloud as well. So, AWS wasn't a problem until like Middle East war happened right now, and the data center was bombed, and like, oh my God, what are we gonna do now with our data? And then the cutting off access to, like Russian citizens, et cetera, came up, and we were like, okay, so this can happen for political reasons that are not really war driven or anti-war driven in this scenario.
Yeah, it's interesting with the AWS stuff in the Middle East, because we back up Reverse through a company called Lone Star Data Holdings. So we're the only social media platform that's backed up in space, and the reason for that is because that means that it's safe. We're running day to day on Earthbound systems, but as a backup, we have it up there. It's exactly because of the stuff that happened in the Middle East.
Are you happy with the service? By the way, I didn't get a chance to ask you this last time.
Yeah, great. They're fantastic company. Really great group of people. Some ex-astronauts on the board, things like that. So
nice.
Yeah,
I'll definitely check them out. I know that Musk was doing something on that space, but I never really tested it. So
yeah,
cool. So let's go back to your platform. So we understand what the mission of Ruverse is. Let's talk about how you actually manage to claim, not just claim, but how can you build a space for me as a user to know that there are no bots, there is no like AI generated content. I just want to wind up and like talk with people. So how do you ensure that?
yeah. So a couple of different layers, and each layer introduces friction, which is a pain because people are used to frictionless systems now. So the first one is that we ask very nicely, in the same way that you wouldn't, most people wouldn't drop litter when they're going for a walk in the countryside or a nature reserve. We ask them not to attempt to post AI generated content on the platform. And to an extent, the platform is self-selecting for people who value that kind of thing. It's in our terms of service. You can't post it on there. The other thing we do is we have various levels of verification checks to make sure each person is human, right up to a KYC identity check on there.
Yep.
And then we have a series of detection software. So everything that gets uploaded gets put through detection software to see what percentage likelihood it is with AI. And there's a cutoff point where we go, if it's this, I can't remember the percentage off the top of my head. But it's once it hits this likelihood that it's AI generated, we put it on pause, and people can appeal that decision when it goes to a moderator, and then we can do some more work with them to prove the provenance of the system of the content. If something does slip through all those things, we do have community reporting. So we've got in the same way that on other platforms you can report fraudulent or abusive content or all these kind of things. People can mark it as suspected AI content, in which case we can do a further investigation on there. So the final layer of defense is the community itself to defend against that.
Okay, cool. How does one join the platform?
Really easy. Just download the app from the Google Store or the Apple Play Store, not Apple Play Store, Apple App Store.
Yeah.
Always get those two names muddled up. And the other one is there's a web app version, just like you log into any other social media platform on the web. Really easy, sign up, go on there and have a look around. And then we've tried to build the platform so that it's nice and easy to use. There's no weird algorithms in there that are moving stuff around. We don't sell the data to third party people in there. We thought that was important. And we're fine tuning it. We only launched this in April, so we're always willing and happy to take feedback from the community on there and make tweaks. So we've just introduced kind of like a groups type structure that people can go on there and can talk in groups for that. We have messaging on there. We're actually going to release an app that you can just use for messaging. So if you reverse login, then it's the same messages that appear on the platform and yours. That will be the only, as far as I'm aware, only messenger app online where you have to prove who you are, and it's quantum encrypted end to end.
Okay, yeah, tell me more about that.
So we're working with an organization called the AI Lab, and they have a TEEP protocol, and we're integrating the TEEP protocol into our systems there. So Instagram, for example, has removed encryption end to end, which means that, and I don't know this, but I suspect that's for AI training.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it. Interesting. Okay, yeah, totally.
I don't know that's true. No allegations. Don't no subpoenas, please.
Food for thought. Yeah, exactly. Food for thought. Just food for thought.
Possibility. I've heard someone else say that I'm repeating. No evidence. But it would make sense if that was a possibility there. And so there are other apps out there that have got end-to-end encryption, Telegram, Signal, things like that. But those apps, you don't have to prove who you are. So you can have bots go on there and send spam mail, etc., etc., etc. So there is this will be the only place where you're going onto a messaging service and you can know that you're seeing someone that's definitely another person at the other end. And the AI Labs TEEP protocol is quantum encrypted. So even once quantum hits, the quantum encryption will still be in place for that process. So we're hoping to launch. We've already got the messaging service on the app, but we're hoping to launch the subsidiary app for it in the next couple of months, which I think will be important to a lot of people once people realize that Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp are no longer encrypted end to end in the way that they previously were.
What do your peers or maybe even your users, what do they say when it comes to this topic? Like, so trust in other communication social networks, trust in the fact that, I mean, not necessarily trust, but lack of trust if there is no end-to-end encryption. How much do you think like general user actually cares? I'm just wondering. I don't know.
I think that most people don't realize. I think they care deeply once they've had it, once they are aware of it. But the awareness of this issue is low, I would say. And there is a proportion of the population that don't mind their data and their messages being used for,
Actually,
adverts.
I have to rudely interrupt you there. Sorry, I am kind of guilty of this myself, because when there is a time in a month that I'm kind of eagerly browsing through different gadgets that I want to buy myself for myself. I kind of like when there is an ad already waiting for me, and then I'm like, oh man, I feel so guilty about this. I know it's bad, but it's kind of useful.
Sure. And I think that there's a problem in that most of the economy now, I think, is based on attention. And we hear this thrown around a lot, like it's an attention-based economy. But in terms of what it actually means, so if I'm looking at your background here, you've got your desk that you absolutely need, you've got your computer monitor that you absolutely need, you've got a Wall-E toy on the side. Now, most of your money has been spent, a proportion of your money has been spent on essentials. But most people, certainly in the Western world now, have got essentials covered. So there's no attention required. There's no drawing of attention. The rest of your money is being spent by what is being captured, is capturing your attention.
Okay, yeah.
And so algorithms have been getting better and better and better and better and better. So there's a famous example from Target back in 2012, so a million years ago in the tech world, where a teenage girl got some coupons sent through the post from Target for pregnancy vitamins. And the dad opened the post and was like, "This is outrageous. You're encouraging my teenage daughter to get pregnant." Storm to Target, kicked off, complaint. Now, it turned out that based on the buying patterns, the girl was pregnant, but she hadn't told her dad yet. But based on the buying patterns and her actions within the ecosystem of Target, they'd identified the fact that she was likely to be pregnant, and so had sent coupons.
Yeah.
Now, that was 2012. So think about how powerful these things are now. And there's a chap who, he'll have to forgive me, but I can't remember his name. He's the ex-finance minister for Greece. And here's a concept called techno-feudalism.
Oh, yeah. I have a book actually right here somewhere. Yeah. Did you read it?
No, I've watched a couple of his speeches on the issue, but yeah.
It's like literally, I wanted to touch base on that when I was talking about the cloud example of how we let the cloud rule and being controlled mostly by the US. I kind of had this book already in mind. I wanted to mention that, but I thought maybe it was just a distraction at this point. But I'm glad actually that you brought it up because it really, touches point on some very important issues right now.
Yeah, so you can see here that your attention is, and the only thing that any of us ever actually have is our attention. Because people often say, "Oh, the only thing you ever have is time," and that's kind of true. But actually, you can be spending your time in a place and doing an activity, but your attention is elsewhere.
Yeah.
So the only thing you actually only have is your attention. And if we go back to this, what we were talking about earlier, 4 to 5 hours a day on social media. If your attention is being driven into algorithms that are scooping up how much are you being influenced by these algorithms and the content in order to use your purchasing power on these different gadgets? You say, "Oh, I didn't even know I wanted that gadget." It's
no, I don't have problem with that. I don't have problem with that. It's usually when I'm like starting my browsing, the research or whatever, where this stuff that I'm looking for is either like more accessible or cheaper or better reviews have or whatever. So I already know what I'm gonna buy, but conveniently there is an ad that will drive me to my first and honestly, I don't think I ever bought from this ad, the landing page where the ad is actually driving me to it. But it's my first stop when I do the research.
And this is where we can come back and see some of the concerns that I would have. And I mentioned there's a more existential problem in that if there's a huge number of AI generated content and people get stuck in echo chambers online and it's about political views, societal views, are your views being disproportionately pushed by bad actors in a particular direction? There's also some interesting studies coming out of Cambridge and a Parisian university, a French university, which I can't remember the name of. But they found that once people had been exposed to a deep fake of a person or a brand, their baseline level of trust in that person or brand was damaged. And in the length of the study that the study conducted, it didn't return to baseline, even if you told them this was just a deep fake. Because once you're made aware that you've seen a deep fake, you suspect that there might be a chance of every other video of that person or that brand being a deep fake.
Yeah. Well, that's how we lose trust in person or object of whatever kind. Yeah. It's hard to get to be trusted, but then it's like this. You can lose this trust. So it's the same thing.
Yeah. So there's a whole heap of problems there that I think are not easy to unpack as an idea. But yeah, and everyone loves the convenience. I've been guilty of this. I've been guilty of wanting a product, and if it's not available for sale on Amazon and I can get it the next day, I just don't order it.
Yeah.
I don't want, right? Because I don't want to have to put my information into the,
Yeah.
it's all there. I just want to click and do it. So our tolerance for friction has been eroded by this stuff, and that's deliberate to get us to spend money.
Yeah. We actually talked a little bit about this before, and what you're doing, and I actually mentioned that I'm interviewing another person in the same space as you are right now, and similar but not quite so a similar idea, but not the same solution. But anyways, you can say it's in the same space. But what I don't see is, or at least not enough, is same effort towards our younger populations, even younger than the ones that are hooked up on social media in like what they're before high school. So like I'm guessing middle elementary school even, but way before that, when parents are overloaded with either work or some whatever private stuff, and then they just give the kid like tablet and go like play with it, and then they discover the world to this 2D frame that's not real, and then how does this build up to a person that's capable of interacting with the real world the way that should?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, I think there was a study recently out of the Netherlands that showed the impact on children under 2 years old for screens, and it's quite stark.
I didn't see
It was,
that one. Can you share
I
some
think it was
numbers?
only yeah, I can't remember that. It only came out last week, and I haven't prepped it in my head. But
I'll
it's
check that out for sure.
yeah, I think it was under 2 years old, and it was negative effects from tablet use.
Interesting. Cool. Tell me about some features that you are working on, Rivers. So what's on a roadmap for you?
Yeah, so we're looking at having, like I said, the encrypted messaging function. We're going to introduce calls into there as well, so it'd be quantum encrypted calls. We want to expand out to have business pages, because currently it's just an individual person pages on there. And we need to look at how we're going to structure the KYC on that.
Okay.
To verify that the business is a business. I mean, we're still playing around with quite how we're going to do that. We're introducing groups, and then we are working with the AI lab, where any of with their TEEP protocol, and where any of your content that is posted to the Reverse will automatically be marked by the TEEP protocol. So it's given provenance to prove that it's your data, your information, your content. So that means that you can prove at any point that it's a human-made content for people by referencing this data catalog that is the TEEP protocol. They're launching on the 14th of July. One of the other things that we're looking at, and there's a fantastic organization called ScrollAware, and they have a absolutely horrifying statistic, which is that the average 18-year-old will spend 25 years of their life scrolling on their phone.
Oh my God.
So I'll say it again for your listeners, because it's such a powerful statistic. I always say it twice when I go on these things. The average 18-year-old will spend 25 years of their life scrolling on their phone.
That sounds horrific, at least to say.
And
are you sure about that, Matt? It's
that's just what ScrollAware is. Yeah, this is what they're.
Oh my God.
They're trying to be. Now, the phrase that comes with that as well is that these 18-year-olds will die with more of other people's memories in their head than their own.
Oh my God, that's so messed up, man. Oh my God.
What's worse than that, though, is that if 71% of the images are AI generated, you're not dying with more of other people's memories in your head. You're dying of made up, machine-made content in your head. You have more of that in your head than your own memories.
Let that sink in, people.
So the 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 ethos behind what we're trying to do here is that you asked me about features. I'm going to go off on a tangent, but and we spoke about this in the prep. Is the drowning child thought experiment. So here, imagine you're going to a business meeting and you're wearing a new suit, and it's a very important business meeting, potentially worth lots and lots of money to you. Just new suit was very expensive. You walk past a pond where a child is drowning, and I have no doubt that every single one of your listeners would stop, run into the pond, and save the child, even though it will make them late for the business meeting and they could lose out on lots of money, and they could ruin their new suit, which cost them a lot of money. But they wouldn't even hesitate to save this drowning child. Now, fortunately for most people, they don't walk past a drowning child every day, but that doesn't mean the child isn't drowning somewhere. And so I think it's a duty that everyone has to, before they close their eyes at night each day, to think, have I on average, have I given more to the world? Have I made the world a better place than what I've taken from it? Even if it's a tiny fraction of a percentage, I don't know how you quantify it, but you get the idea that the world's slightly better because I've been in it. And when you start hearing stats about 25 years of people's lives, 71% of images being uploaded, nobody, I think, is going to, who listens to this and then closes their eyes tonight before they go to bed, will be proud of the fact that they spent 4 to 5 hours watching majority AI generated content on their phone. That is not going to make the world a better place. And anyway, now I always say to people, and I think this is perhaps a silly thing to say as a CEO of a social media platform. I always say to people that if you have the choice between picking up your phone to interact with people or going and talking to someone in real life, absolutely go and talk to someone in real life. Do not do it. If there's a colleague, a friend, a loved one, family member, whatever it is, either pick up the phone to them or go and see them in person. If you have the choice between spending your time online or interacting with the person in front of you, always choose interacting with the person in front of you. But if you are not in a position to do that, the only way you can connect with other human beings is by being online. It's probably not a good idea to go to places where up to 71% of the images that you're seeing are AI generated, or a huge proportion of the users that you're interacting with are probably machines, because at that point you're not interacting with anyone. And by going and interacting with people online, you could be a lifeline to that person. You could make them feel, you compliment an artist on the picture they've just posted, and that could make them feel better, which means that they, because they're in such a good mood, they stop and talk to a little old lady who's waiting at the bus stop, who hasn't spoken to someone for 3 days because she lives on her own. There's this knock-on effect of goodness and kindness that can be magnified out. But what will absolutely stop that dead in its tracks, that potential wave, that ripple in the pond of goodwill and kindness, is by just watching machine-made content like this for 4 to 5 hours.
Yeah. It's the worst kind of getting high.
Yeah.
I'm actually, this is probably the first conversation that I had on this topic. It's usually how AI is actually used for, whatever benefit we have currently running different types of businesses. But I'm actually glad that we did this one, because it gives, with all the stats and all the stuff you mentioned so far, it gives a new perspective, a new dimension to things. And I think this is something that is definitely, regardless of how many people you hear, agreeing with you, there's not too many people actually talking and preaching, if you know what I mean. So
yeah,
it's.
Yeah, and I mean, there's interesting direction, and the studies aren't big enough, and they're not long lasting enough, and there's not enough of them to give a real solid base to it. But certainly the direction of these studies is indicating that LLM use can reduce critical thinking, it can reduce sense of ownership in work, it can reduce your ability to problem. Just 10 minutes of LLM use for problem solving can make you worse at problem solving once it's taken away, and more likely to give up on problem solving. There's studies out of that's out of MIT and Oxford, those findings. There's studies out of Japan that indicate that LLM use might be addictive.
How come?
So,
what kind of LLM use?
Mostly revolving around just problem solving. So asking it questions. It's much easier, and I'm guilty of this myself. It's much easier to type into ChatGPT, can you explain?
Oh yeah, of course.
This to me, it's about friction. It's about friction reduction. You don't have to go and do it like it used to be that when you went to university, you would say afterwards, "Oh, what did you do at university?" "Oh, I read history." Or I read geography, and that was because you had to go to a place and read a book to find the one piece of information you needed. Then the internet arrived, and you could just search that one piece of information. You had to read the article to get the information you needed, but you didn't need to read the whole book. You just read the article, and now you can go to ChatGPT and it'll just tell you that one piece.
Yeah.
So the background information is shrinking on that kind of thing. And the thing is, though, absolutely, AI can be used for good. So if you are able to make your work more productive, or your life more productive, more efficient through LLM use, you're better able to spend your time with other people doing the things that make humans human. So there's a trade here that needs to be assessed, and there needs to be a lot more research on the impact of LLM use. And it's not, to me, it makes complete sense. I mean, people got worse at maths once calculators arrived. It's not, if you used to walk everywhere and you buy a car and you drive everywhere, you get more unfit. Use it or lose it. If you're using LLMs to do some of this stuff for you, you're going to get worse at it. Now, the AI Pro people say that, but actually it allows me to do X, Y, and Z better, which means I can get enhancements. And we're still so early in this, it's hard to tell what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So, absolutely, like I said, AI use can be used for have huge positive effects. But my thoughts on this is, when you're implementing AI, or when you're using AI, LLMs, whatever it is, I would always go back to this one question, and it's to Marcus Aurelius quote that I like, which is that, is this necessary?
Okay. But that's not in our nature to build only which is necessary.
Is it necessary for me to use it? Yeah. That's the question. But well, it's hard. If it was easy, it wouldn't be a problem. It wouldn't be even worth discussing. But I think that's what people, when business owners are implementing this, and so this is like, is it necessary for me to use AI here, or am I on such an AI high from it working over here, I want to put it in everywhere? And it might be brilliant here and be really beneficial, but actually it might be, on balance, less good here. It's a nuanced issue.
Well, there are definitely different levels of implementation, let's call them domains. And I think what's important is, for anyone who is deciding to start this AI adoption in their company, is to have a proper philosophy around it. So I've been thinking a lot about this, actually, and I think that I formed my philosophy around, you have to reduce the number of repetitive work, and a lot of this philosophy is actually thanks to a friend and a client as well, actually, from one hosting company in the US, Todd Robinson, by the way. Hey, Todd, if you're listening. And that's like, if you're doing something like 1,000th time, this is literally what he said, and I agree wholeheartedly. If you're doing something like 1,000 time, make sure you're not doing it for like 1,001st. Automate it. So AI, I believe that AI shouldn't be another technological well, I mean, upgrade of what essentially it's a revolution, but let's not make it a type of revolution that will replace our cognitive power. And because it is capable of it, right? On this, I can share actually the link to a conversation that I had with Todd like a month or 2 months ago, I forgot. We actually talked about this, and I shared a music video. It's actually an album of I forgot the name now. It's a soul version of different rap songs. It's it's a 100% AI. It's fabulous. It's fabulous music. It's perfect. It's wonderful. But it replaced, I mean, replaced someone who could have done it. It replaced a person who is capable of creating unimaginably beautiful things. And now this person doesn't have incentive anymore, or maybe they do. I don't know. But it's this AI content on this level is filling up the space, and now the question is it limited space? Can we still, as a genuine artist, can we have our place in this world? You know, how does that affect us? Because it's not the same as we had it with combustion engine, you know, after it replaced horses and steam engine and whatnot. It was replacing the manual work. Now we have something new. This is different. It's scary. And
Yeah,
all we can
and
do is choose. I'm sorry, I'm really interrupting you again, but it's important for me to say, it's like it's important to choose the philosophy through which you're adopting the AI. And I think it should, by any cost, it should definitely you should try to avoid replacing your cognitive power, your creative work. It should automate everything that you're dumbingly doing every day and just repetitively doing one thing over and over again. It should definitely do that. It should replace that. Don't make it your boss, right?
yeah, there's a brilliant quote, and I can't. I think it was a lady that said. I can't remember who said it, but she said, "I didn't want AI to make my art for me. I wanted to do my dishes for me, so
My
I'd have more time
dishes.
to
I
admire."
heard about it. I saw a meme actually on
Yeah,
that
yeah,
page.
yeah.
That's perfect.
But that's it, isn't it? You know, it's not there to generate art for you. It's there to do your dishes so you can spend more time doing your art.
Yeah.
Now, I think that it's almost a bit tongue in cheek, but I think that any business owner that implements AI and is happy about the fact that they can sack, they can fire some staff members to save costs because they've implemented AI, really needs to sit down and think, would my mum be proud of me for doing that? and probably not.
Yeah.
Like, if just think about that. Would your mum be proud that you've taken away people's jobs because you've implemented AI?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Totally. Totally. And there's another thing about this philosophy of how we approach to AI adoption. I think this one is also important, and it kind of sets up I think it sends a really base and clear message. So focus on repetitive work and do more with what you already have. Don't aim for doing the same with less.
Yeah,
It's crazy,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. And you can see some organisations, some big organisations, have had to walk back on some of these issues. I think Klarna famously got rid of 1,400 or so customer service employees.
Who that?
Klarna, the payment.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and then they've subsequently had to hire some back because
Yeah.
it wasn't working very well. Um, and yeah, so I think it's a very, very difficult, nuanced issue. I think it's evolving really quickly. I think there's something of a gold rush in terms of
It is.
people running to put it in place. And you need to be able, if you're a business owner, you need to be able to move quickly because the market's dynamic. But also, I think what you said there is get your philosophy right. You know, don't don't be happy with the fact that you've got an extra £10,000 in your bank account each month because you've had to fire human beings.
Yeah.
You know, just keep
Not
them
cool.
employed. Yeah, it's not cool, is it? Your mum's not going to be proud of you. I did a post on LinkedIn about AI generated work. I just did it on a post-it note, and I said, "Is your mum proud that someone else did your homework?" Because that's why, you know, no, she's not.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, but going back to the online space, I mean, we need to stop and think about the impact this is having on the internet. The internet is one of the most powerful inventions that humans have come across, and we're so entrenched in it now. We're only really just starting to understand the impact of social media on people, you know, and that makes up a huge proportion. The internet now is almost, a lot of people interact with the internet via social media. They're exposed to the internet through social media.
Yeah. Some older generations even refer Facebook to internet. Vice versa.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the reasons that we made Ruverse 18 plus from the offset, I mean, we've just had a ban announced in the UK that's going to be implemented in 2027 for under 16-year-olds. Quite why they've picked under 16, I don't know. It seems like a reasonably arbitrary age, because as of 18, you're an adult in the UK. Although we have lots of strange laws relating to 16 to 18, different things you can do or not. But we did it as 18 plus because I was unconvinced that I wasn't aware of any practical ways I could be absolutely sure that there was no damage to children, so anyone under the age of 18, from social media. And Facebook's just famously recently lost a case in the US about the mental health aspects. There's lots of studies showing that mental health aspects, attention aspects relating to social media there. But this needs to be then carried on to the rest of the internet, because you can't cut someone. You can't. The classic example is alcohol, right? It's not the same, and social media is not the same as alcohol. So
it's relatable.
But if you're not allowed to drink until you're 18, what does every 18-year-old do? They go and get so drunk that they're sick. And so suddenly allowing access to something at a particular age means that you're flooded and you don't know how to manage it. And there could be some parallels there as a metaphor for social media use and AI use. But we just thought until we're confident that we're not causing any harm to children potentially, we didn't want to have it as anything less than 18 plus for our platform. Yeah. And there's, you know, the question is that how do you resolve this issue across the rest of the internet? Because, you know, the UK government's trying to put in place various different restrictions for across Google and things like that, but it's so hard to control. Yeah, the workarounds are innumerate on this issue, and I think there needs to be a push from parents. And again, this is the problem. Parents are overloaded. They've got most families are both parents working now. You know, you've got everything else that's going on, cost of living, news, your child's school, and then we're pushing on to parents saying you need to educate your children about internet safety and internet this, that, the other. And there's no easy solutions to this issue.
No, for sure, but it kind of crystallizes what the points of interest are. So obviously a home, but as you said, so parents are overloaded for sure. At least you can probably say with most of them. But then this opens a new topic, like how preschool or other variations of it should be formed. Should they have this educational purpose more structured than they do? And, you know, what does that mean for, well, let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you go into school, you know, in primary school here, elementary school, for the international listeners. It's probably cool. But you're educated about oxbow lakes in geography.
Yeah. But no. My point was actually, I have to jump in again. I'm so sorry for being rude here, but I was talking for, I think from the age of like what, 2.5 maybe years old, kids are put in these preschool. I'm not sure what the proper terminology for it is, but they do have someone who's keeping them, playing with them, teaching them different things, and there is some sort of structured curriculum around that. But now when we say out loud that parents are overloaded and kids spends like at least 5 to 8 hours somewhere else while parents are working, so this place now should take ownership of you know what what comes around, like what this kid is actually taught of.
Yeah. But that's the same is true for adults. We're not educating adults on internet safety, or the potential.
Yeah, but that's also true. We are not educating adults on what's legal and what grounds you have lawyers for that.
Yeah, true. So it's a hugely complex, difficult issue, and we're only a couple of decades. I mean, when was Facebook? 2005, 2006?
Something like that. I forgot.
I mean, there were social media platforms before that, but
I never used it, so I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I think it was 2005. You had MySpace and stuff before that.
Yeah, I actually had an account there.
Yeah, I mean, MySpace was one of the most savage platforms ever, where you had to rank your friends, your top 10 friends. And,
I don't know. I was actually using it mostly for music. I was doing a lot of music back then, and it was my place for that. But I wasn't that deep into that social aspect that you just mentioned. I don't even remember that, honestly.
Oh yeah, famous. Yeah, you had to. If you had your contacts, you could rank them in order of like number one. You could rank your top 10 friends.
Okay. I
Yeah,
lost
I
that.
remember MySpace as a teenager, and you go, you go in and go, did you see that Jessica has moved Becky to her number one spot on her friends list over Andrea? You'd be like, the shock and horror of the.
Yeah, I don't know. I totally missed that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, what I think that the biggest problem is that awareness over some of the issues that we've spoken about today. It's spreading the awareness of these impacts on people. That is difficult, and I don't really know how it's going to cut through the rest of the noise. This is the issue. I mean, I'm sure the people who have been listening to this are quite like taken aback by some of it. I mean, your face alone on the 18-year-olds 25 years stat is it's shocking, isn't it? Yeah. So I don't know where we need to move to that, and it's not a one organization job. This is not a.
It's social network. It should be social obligation to do, as the better effort we can, the better, right?
Yeah. So that's what we're trying to do with Reverse, is just create, like I said, a nature reserve, a walled garden, a walk in the countryside where it is just people. Yeah. We're not big enough to take on some of the rest of these issues.
We actually didn't. Probably didn't even scratch the surface on this one, but I think it might be important for you to mention. So if it's that kind of platform, it still has a feed, it still has a content you can scroll through. Up to which point? How does this work?
Yeah, so the feed itself is chronological, which is great. There's different options for the feed, so you can have a feed that is just the people you follow in chronological order, which I think is refreshing just on its own.
You can end scrolling at some point.
Yes, you can. You can actually be completely caught up on the people you follow, which I think is important for a mental break. The infinite scroll is one of the most nefarious things that can be in there. So that is an option on ours. You can go onto the explore. You can explore and see other content that you wouldn't be exposed to through people you don't follow, because you want to be able to find new people to follow
Yeah.
on these platforms. That's kind of the point of some of them.
So how do I go about and find new people based on the content that they serve, post, whatever? Do I
Yeah,
have
so
to?
you can tag areas you're interested in. So say you were interested
Okay.
in science. When you sign up, you say I'm interested in science, and
Mm.
people can flag their post as being sciencey.
Mm.
And when you go onto the explore page, it will
Cool.
do that. And then the other thing that we have is we have an on-platform credit that we're expanding out, and that means that people can purchase on-platform credit for $1 each. So it's called a Root Chip Lite, and they can use that to boost their posts to gain awareness about, so that it moves up the algorithm. And that's the same model that we use for companies that will want to place adverts on the platform. And then we're going to have additional features coming through, like premium groups that you can be members of by spending a monthly fee on the on-platform credits. You also earn the credits. So by posting, you earn credits. By liking other posts, you earn credits. So you can build into an ecosystem here where the more active you are on our platform, the more credits you have, which means you can then increase your own exposure or interact with the platform through these other premium features that we'll be introducing down the line.
So it's not a place for introverts.
No, well, I mean, I think the current stats are that 90% of social media users post less than once a month. And they're actually called lurkers. This is the technical term. And I keep saying that most social media platforms shouldn't be called social media anymore. And one of our things that it's just short format entertainment media, which is a bit more of a mouthful. If you're not posting about yourself and you're not actually interacting with the platform, it's not social anymore.
Yeah.
Especially if most of it's machine generated content and a huge proportion is bots. You might as well sit and watching your washing machine go around social media at that point. It's not
0 point.
It's not social anymore. And one of our things that we say is we're putting the social back into social media, because it's actually people. We actually want.
That's actually a nice catchphrase. It's accurate, 100%.
Yeah, we actually want people to post about themselves, and this is, I think, one of the reasons for people posting less about themselves. I think this is my thoughts on this, is that influencers killed off people posting about themselves, because the production value on the content they were posting is so high that people, and the classic thing is that everyone says this, but no one ever really thinks it, is that they only post the ideal life, don't they? They only post the highlight reel. And so people felt that their content wasn't good enough to post.
True.
And then when you slam AI generated content into this, where the production value again is now you don't have to be an influencer making lots of money to be able to produce high production value content. You can just be someone who's knocking it out on an LLM or an AI generated system. People feel even more like perhaps what they have to post isn't worthy because it's not polished enough. Whereas if it's raw, if it's real, if it's a real human thing that they want to express about themselves, if you're in a place where everyone else is in that same boat, that you're much more likely to get people to post.
Is there any stats on this topic? I'm interested, because it's definitely a huge one and it's worth exploring. So I'm just wondering if you have some numbers.
I might be slightly misquoting the stat, but I think it's 90% of social media users post less than once a month.
So yeah, okay, that one.
But I might be slightly off on those numbers, but it's something in that realm.
Yeah, I was wondering about the part where it's either declining or some sort of confirmation, like how many people are actually preventing themselves from posting if they don't think it's good enough when they, see like influencers like living the time of their lives fakely, but still.
I can't recall any specific statistics, but I'm sure there's some stuff out there.
I mentioned this to you when we had a prep call. so ashamed. I can't remember. Was that a documentary or was that someone interviewing a person who bought on some auction, I think, a wreckage of a plane, and then with perfectly set up interior of it, and they were renting this to influencers to say, like, so they can make videos in it and post stuff like, oh, I'm flying my private jet, stuff like that. And that kind of content, it's probably more harmful than even we shouldn't be comparing, but I am comparing right now because I see that as bigger problem than AI generated content.
Yeah, it's in some ways it is a bigger problem. Yeah, it's as big a problem until AI generated content gets so realistic you can't tell the difference.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, it's totally different game, but I'm comparing because right now, based on how I feel about what I'm talking about right
Yeah.
now, it feels like we are policing ourselves, and it's never good.
No, no, no. So it's again, social media is a difficult path to walk. It's had huge benefits. It's allowed humanity to connect, and during the COVID lockdowns, colossal lifeline to people.
Yeah.
Being able to do that, but it also comes with some harms, some potential harms, and studies are indicating that, and even anecdotally, there's people that are concerned about that. So it's a very fine line to walk, and this is why I try to, and we try at Rootverse to keep up with the latest studies, and I try and talk to the actual researchers who are doing this work to get it from their mouths themselves, because it's all very well being written in a study, but when they actually talk about it in person, it's really important to get that feedback from people. There's some really good organizations that are working on this. Like I said, Scroll Aware, Centre for Digital Ethics, fantastic, Antidote organization, the Cambridge University Disinformation Summit is doing some remarkable work in terms of putting out other people's research to spread awareness of that. I highly recommend people look at that. So there are organizations out there that are bringing that awareness, but it's difficult for people because, again, it's another job on your to-do list, isn't it? To kind of go and, you've got to be a well-rounded person and then also go and scare yourself with some of these statistics and some of these research papers that are. So it's not an easy thing for people to do at all.
Yeah, but at the end, the effort is what counts here. That's all we can do, really.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we talked a lot about being informed and education and just being aware of how things around us affect us, and it kind of boils down to what we read. I was wondering if we can close this one up with like some books you can recommend to people, books that changed their life, or maybe in the light of the topics that we are having today, books that can help them, understand this sphere of influence on ourselves better.
Yeah. I mean, my classic number one that I always recommend to people is Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. Absolutely fantastic. The biggest quote in there for me is, "Stop debating what a good man is, just be one." Which I think is a very powerful one. I think in the context of what we've been talking about today, two of the most prescient, two authors with the most forethought and most ability to see into the future would be Isaac Asimov and George Orwell. So 1984, and in terms of the groupthink effect that can occur from this kind of thing, and Isaac Asimov's I, Robot, absolute classic for seeing what's happening. Some of the stuff that these guys have written about has literally come true on that. And the other one I always recommend to people is Sam Harris, Waking Up. Really interesting book. on that. So those would be my. Sam Harris's Waking Up is about the concept of the self and how you're influenced by the world around you. It's fascinating. So those would be my big ones to recommend to people.
I was actually just going through my reading list because you reminded me of a book that I just recently stumbled upon. It's in my list. I never read it. I mean, not yet. It's a new find for me. Let me just. Oh my God, where is that? Ah, here it is. Oh, why so slow today? So 10 arguments for deleting your social media accounts right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I read all the reviews. The author was a guest in which podcast was it? Oh my God, was it Rogan's or maybe Friedman? I forgot. Anyways, Jaron Lanier is the author, and he's actually quite deep in the AI topic itself. So he came from from this perspective that we are actually talking about today. So I think it's worthwhile checking out the book, and I'll definitely let you know when I read it. What are my comments? And I think it's widely recommended, anyways. So just thought to mention. Cool.
Okay.
Thanks so much, man, for your time today. I really enjoyed
Yeah,
conversing
thank
with
you.
you. Yeah, I think we covered a lot of ground when it comes to, how people should approach to like AI adoption, how to view all this madness that we are in right now, how to recognize that's negatively affecting them, and maybe where to look for assistance, right? How to understand what's good or bad for them, because we are in a wide ocean of the unknown right now, and we need to like be careful of like every next step that we do, whether as a company or organization or even as a parent. So
Yeah, and I would say to people that always just if in doubt, if you can take a moment to think about it and just think about that drowning child thought experiment.
yeah,
Are the actions I'm taking going to help a drowning child somewhere?
yeah, yeah.
And then you can't go far, even if you're swimming in the sea of the unknown. If you can think, you know what, this thing I'm doing is going to help a drowning child somewhere, you can't go far wrong, can you?
Yeah, just make sure to have a proper moral compass, and it should be fine. It's really nice way to finish this conversation,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for that.
Right.
Good talk.
Well,
Good talk. Much
yeah. Thank
appreciated.
you. Thank you.
Let's talk again soon.